This year, it seemed like a good thing to do to start by taking a little walk around our campus, which is always so beautiful this time of year. Please join me in our little stroll. I am walking just after sunrise, and the places I am traveling here are both familiar and strange. Strange because it is so comforting to see these beloved sights, which I now see only every few days, and which seem somehow different. I know now that for me, the presence of human community magnifies natural beauty. This year, the abundance of spring is distanced, as if I'm looking through the wrong end of a telescope. My Passover and Easter gift to you is to show you some of the beloved sights now enjoyed mostly by the neighbors who walk their dogs here, by our winter nights and sanctuary guests, and of course, the wildlife. And by walking here with you, I better see the brilliance of this spring. So as I am moving around the campus with you, my thoughts go to the road to Emmaus. In context, and I rarely have spontaneous biblical references. So this feels a little odd, this little fragment of the Easter story surprising me. In some Christian traditions, the significance of this journey is when the two disciples find Jesus present with them, and that this story is among the proofs that Jesus is risen. But that is not what I find comforting or even that interesting. For me, this is a story about the power of human resilience. And as I move, I find myself imagining that I am traveling with these two disciples who are grieving and talking about Jesus's crucifixion and the tomb found empty just that morning. They are caught between what they have known, the comfort and belonging that Jesus's deep hospitality gave them, and something they can't even imagine yet, some new world they don't even know. All they know is that their world is forever changed, and they don't yet know what can be. They are as we are this Easter, living in the gap between what was and what will be. And that requires them and us to be brave. This Easter, I am appreciative of those people who were willing to be silly with bonnets, for we need humor to fuel our resilience. Our news is as cataclysmic now as the tragic news which Jesus's followers were wrestling with on that road. The teachings of Jesus of Nazareth were dangerous. He included people that other people shunned, and he believed in the transformational power of community. To lose this message after having it was not about intellectual belief. Jesus's followers had risked their own safety and their own well-being to spread his teachings. And now the messenger and the common rituals of their community were gone, or so they thought. They were left alone in a new world, so frightening, so unimaginable. On that road to Emmaus at some point, there was an Alleluia, such as the one with we began our services with today. But in that story that tells itself to me as I'm collecting things to show you, that Alleluia, that rejoicing, is not focused on seeing a literal spirit risen, but rather on the appearance of the revelation that the teachings that Jesus gave to his followers were still with the disciples, still lived on in their hearts. These teachings were the teachings of the Jewish tradition. They were passed down through the lens of inclusion and hospitality. They were captured in the practices of the community and in the resolute hearts of the followers. And they were still there, even when Jesus was gone. So as I was walking around at dawn the other morning, collecting images for you, I imagined those students on that road talking to each other, naming their grief and their fear as we can and must do among those who we trust so that we can survive the unimaginable. And I heard, as if I were there, one turning to another and saying, "It's like our teacher is here among us," because they realized in that conversation, in my version of the story, that the teachings that he shared were in the practice and in the promises that the community made to each other and to the world. And as disciples in our tradition, we don't have to stop believing that what we believe about the world order in which we can value all is gone because our circumstances have changed, because our lives are different, because our habits and rituals are altered, even when we are living in that gap and facing the unknown. This year, the Easter message, the message in the spring bursting out all around us, is that some things that we have known and loved are gone, and others may still be, but all is not lost. On this particular Easter Sunday, in the midst of a pandemic, I am comforted by the part of our shared chalice flame that you light in your hearts or your own homes each Sunday morning now. The way that you make choices to protect yourself and others, to rest and engage, distance and connect. What we cherish is not dependent on what we thought it was dependent on. It's not so much the particular places or activities or things happening in a very certain way. This is what we are learning as we continue to live in this gap. Within each of us is a spirit of hospitality, the whole spectrum of the human family, and a new, stark, and visceral awareness that we need one another to survive. These teachings are living in a new way among us at a time when my safety is tied to your safety and my resources are tied to your resources. This is the message I hear as I do my duties on our campus in these days. I so look forward to that other resurrection that will come among us when we return to some of the ways we had before. And yet we all know now, I think, that they won't be exactly the same ways we had before. I actually now hope that they won't all be exactly the same, because I think we've learned some things about what it means to be together and what it means to care for one another in these times, in this gap where we are living. Just as on that Emmaus Road, two community members remembered that the teachings of their beloved teacher were within them, resurrected through their daily choices and decisions. And we, in these days, can remember that we are the embodiments of our faith. In our tradition, Easter is about the resurrection of the human spirit and the spirit of all forms, to reclaim and affirm the way that life is reborn again each spring in the coming of flowers and shoots, the coming and rebirth of beauty. This is the resurrection that we celebrate today. May we also celebrate human perseverance and the power, which mean that even when the world is incomprehensible, some part of our nature works without end. Find the path and the beauty and the joy and the wholeness. In this season in which we mark new life coming from what has been, I invite you to pay attention, particularly to this part of our walk together. For our beloved campus reveals to us a living example of a new beginning, life springing anew from a seeming end. May we witness to a powerful, living, incarnating possibility that adds hues to our joys, honors the wisdom of our grief, and always, always remembers the beauty within each and all.
You to sing along again, number 38 in the Gray Book, Morning Has Broken. If you have the book, the words will also be on your screen.
And so we come once again to our benediction and the end of another time of gathering virtually, which we're so grateful to be able to do. And as we end this service, may we be willing to name our griefs and celebrate the beauty still abounding. On this Easter day, may we travel through this gap between what we have known and what will be. May our faith in the ever-rising human spirit sustain us in the days that we face and be a balm for ourselves and for the other, for the friend and for the stranger, for the state of our soul and the state of our heart, and in whatever way needed to ensure that one more precious life will know itself beloved, held, and safe on this planet. So let us extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of peace or the strength of love or the power of what we know in our hearts. For these we offer to ourselves and to the world until we are together again. Let us go in peace.